Ham Pops, and I'm going to talk about Wednesday, episode 5. And episode really is interesting. It is, up until this point, we really haven't had much Gomez and Morticia, only episode 1 where they were taking her to school, where they sent her to Nevermore Academy. And since then, it's all been about Wednesday. It's her mystery and situation that she is in. It's her coming of age story. We really don't have a whole lot with the parents. And in this episode, which I'm calling a filler episode, which I hopefully will explain to you why, that we get a backstory between the sheriff and his animosity and grudge that he's holding against Gomez over, quote, a murderer. He's a murderer that's gone free and that kind of thing. Okay. So the episode opens with a flashback to that actual incident. It's 1990. You have a rainy night there at Nevermore, and a body collapses onto the ground. Gomez is seen holding a sword, and Deems, a younger version of Deems, is there and says they were fighting over Morticia. Okay. And then we kind of have the family arriving. Obviously, Gomez, Morticia, and Pugsley. Lurch is driving, of course, for Parents Weekend. So it's an excuse to bring the parents there, right? And there's all sorts of great dialogue about, oh, we haven't heard from her in the crystal ball. We've been trying to get a hold of her. And then, of course, when they see Wednesday, her first thing is, well, she kind of calls them out because they left Thing behind. It's like, well, I thought Thing was filling you in on all of my actions, right? Now, the only other piece of this that's interesting is they move along different elements with the other kids' backstories as well. Again, a filler episode, right? So let's fill in some details. We'll make the series a little bit longer and fatter. Maybe we'll have some things that we put in near the end of a season as scripting. Then we have a callback episode where we kind of set all of the table of what we're going to accomplish and resolve maybe through the next subsequent episodes. And with that, you have Enid and her family, particularly her mother, who is just unbearably negative towards Enid in every way, judgmental, talked about sending her to like a conversion camp. I mean, I know the metaphors. I got it. We understand some of the social context of some of these topics, but I can tell you that it never derailed enough for me to give me a distaste or a way to turn away from the show. It's just part of the culture that they're in, and it kind of works. Bianca and her mother, right? So that her mother is like a siren as well and uses her powers in a manipulative way that's kind of backfired. She needs Bianca to come home. Bianca negotiates the situation so she'll come home later, basically. But you start to get little pieces of their backstory as well. But most of this episode really is about Morticia and Gomez. And it starts with the coroner. You have a little bit more of the backstory of this murder case and this mystery with this monster. And there's this coroner. And then, of course, the sheriff basically gets some information from this coroner, and they're going to arrest Gomez completely outright. Okay. So there was a funny scene, by the way, with the therapist, and that Pugsley's eating the potpourri and then gives it to Gomez, which I thought was kind of fun. It was all right. So the murder case kind of comes to head. And of course, now Wednesday is, I have to go through with this. And she has like snide remarks, of course, about, I don't think Dad did it because he doesn't have it in him to be a murderer, right? And it is sort of this unraveling of things going to the Gates, which is the victim, and trying to unpack the situation there, the behavior. And Morticia starts to come clean to Wednesday and explain that he was crazy, foaming at the mouth, came to the school to kind of attack everyone. He was stalking me and whatever. He couldn't handle that I'd moved on and I'm with Gomez now. And during this sort of like chase/fight scene, he thrusts himself into a sword and that Morticia was holding. So she technically is the one who accidentally killed him. But then whenever the body starts to fall away, Gomez is like, you run away, be free. I got the sword. I'll take so he takes the blame for everything, right? And in the current time, it is funny seeing Gomez in like the orange jumpsuit, and it's an excuse to tell a few jokes. And, they explain the details in a way that you really start to empathize with the family, but you understand what a great man Gomez really is. I mean, sure, He's kooky, right? That's the Addams Family shtick. But he loves Morticia. He loves his family. He would do anything, right? And it gives a chance for us to have Morticia and Wednesday force conversation over their angst and their animosity. The teenage daughter stuff is really kind of old. It's irritating. And I'm glad in this episode we at least try to move that along a little bit and sand off some edges. And they do that based on this conversation about Wednesday's visions. And then Morticia has visions too, but she says, no, I'm a dove, you're a raven. So there's like a light and a dark side because of the way it feeds off your personality. And that you kind of get mentored and you kind of get taught how to balance this sort of skill through someone that's already passed away. That's their belief system. Okay. And as Wednesday's going through her investigation, she's going to the yearbook. She's finding out some of the details about this case and gets Gomez cleared, which clears the air with the sheriff. And what we also find out is now Wednesday knows what we know, the audience knows, that Deems is a shapeshifter. So she calls Deems out on pretending to be Rowan, covering up Rowan's death, all of this kind of stuff. So you start to see some of the corruption come to light, some of that frustration that Wednesday has thought and felt, but been able to put her finger on, and now she does. And it just the episode ends with a pure setup for the next episode, where the words "fire will rain" is burning in the lawn of Nevermore. I mean, quite literally on fire, and that's how it ends to set up another episode. But when I say filler episode, I think that when these shows are in development, we find out that, they pitched episode, they have this much written out, they have this much of a treatment, they have this much of a sale. And then they kind of go, well, no, we want 6 episodes or 8 episodes, 10, 12, whatever. And we see these series where you end up with these episodes that just don't matter. They don't connect to anything. This is an episode where I feel like we didn't have to have it. We could have had pieces of it interwoven into something else. But I feel like they took the backstory with this murder case and they flushed it out a little bit, and they give us some bonding time and character development for multiple characters. For instance, Pugsley and Wednesday get a chance to be alone because Pugsley is really distraught over Gomez being in jail and facing murder charges, and he's sitting on a lake's edge. And she sits down with him with a bag, talks about going fishing. Well, if you know the Addams family, when they go fishing, they take out grenades and they throw grenades, and dead fish pop up. But you get Wednesday and Pugsley bonding, and of course, they're fishing. So it's really, really, really good because you see the sympathetic side of Wednesday, that even though she tortures Pugsley, he is precious to her, right? And he wants to make sure that she takes care of him. She's not around him as much right now because she's been away at this school, but it is really, really a great scene. I will say also, it was a chance for them to fill up and add some depth to Bianca's mom or Enid's mom and dad. And actually, Enid's dad has a great moment. I don't think he says hardly anything until the very end of the episode, where Enid stands up to mom. It's like, listen, I'm going to do me. I'm not doing this. You're going to have to get over it. I'll wolf out when I get to it. It's all this judgmental stuff. But the dad is like, you be you, and gives her like a kiss on the forehead. And I'm like, sometimes as dads, that's all we can do. We don't know what to do. We watch the wife and the daughter fight. There's not an easy side to take. Both sides are right. Both sides have issues. You don't know what to do. And sometimes you just step back and go, I'm here for both of you. I love you both. And so not only do we get good dad Gomez, we get good dad, Enid's dad. I don't know his name. And I got to be honest, you see a little redemption for the sheriff to kind of come to grips like, oh, crap, there's more to this than I knew. And kind of like shakes hand with Gomez, talks about their kids liking one another. And I think, again, sure, it may have started as being something that it kind of diverges from the pace that we were on. And you'll see in the next episode, it goes right back, which I think is really good. I will also say, I know there's been a lot of thoughts, like how I think Luis Guzman is really, really, really good as Gomez. They play up the characters' pet names and things like that. All of that quirkiness is there. He's not as over the top as I would like. I'd like a little more zany, but he hasn't been set in scenarios where we get to see that. Morticia has really not been given Morticia characterization that I would like. Like Catherine Zeta-Jones is probably going to get some criticism for her portrayal, but in fact, I feel like it's more like the presentation has not really been on Morticia. It's the story has only been about her angst with Wednesday and the cover up of this. We haven't really got to see Morticia in her own like place of comfort, right? You know what I mean? We have a moment where she goes and visits a gravesite. She has rose. She grabs the head off, drops the rose, right? There's no head on it. That's perfectly in line. The way she walks, her mannerisms, and her look, it's all fine. But there are things that are not off. And again, I don't think the parents, the show's not about the parents, it's about Wednesday. So the parents haven't been given the space where they can truly be Addams Family patriarch and matriarch. So I'm interested to see if that's just sort of kind of come to light maybe near the season's end or not. I don't really need it to. I think they're both very serviceable, or I think in the case of Luis Guzman, a little bit better than Catherine Zeta-Jones. But I love your thoughts. I'm really happy that I got into the show, even though I'm a little later than some other folks have. I can tell you that I'll do another episode. I'm going to do another review here quickly because I think this was a very self-contained episode. Like we had the first few episodes and we have this one. And sure, it's a self-contained episode, but we did move the pieces along. And the gate stuff, which is the victim and the family that centers around this murder case, do come into play beyond this episode. But I'm just really, really pleased with how this was done right. Because this is a situation where these are the episodes that are usually messed up. They're in the middle. Things slow down because you have to flush out some details. You have to set a lot of stuff up for the end of the season or the payoffs. And these are the episodes that are completely ruined in most shows. But this was done right, in my opinion. So I wanted your thoughts. I love your feedback on how you feel about the show and the performances as well before I move on to the next episode. Anyway, I'm Pop. Thank you again so much. I appreciate you being here.